Hello YouTube and welcome back to another video with Scruffy Tales. And in this video we will explore just how Russia managed to crush the CV90, the world's best infantry fighting vehicle, and how Russia has found a way to completely dominate this piece of shit vehicle. As you all know, Russia has told us that the CV90 was defeated by a simple RPG that has been in service since the 60s. There is nothing that the CV90 can do in face of this rudimentary and deadly weapon that can obviously just punch through anything. And as we can see here, we have video evidence or footage, I should say, where the RPG hit the CV90 in the turret and punched a hole, and according to Russian reports, killed the commander. And take note, the RPG hit the turret on the right-hand side of the vehicle, right-hand side of the turret, right next to the gun, and that punched straight through the armor into the vehicle and killed the commander. This very simple weapon from the 60s. I mean, Western vehicles, this very modern Swedish vehicle is obviously incapable of withstanding Russian superior firepower. But was it a RPG-7 as they claim it was? I don't know, because if you look at the footage of the attack and the hit, we can see when the heat weapon is launched some distance away. It is man-portable, because as you watch really closely, you can even see the guy moving around after he's fired the weapon. But more interestingly is that right before you have a detonation on the vehicle, you can see a puff of smoke happening just seconds before the actual impact. And this tells me that this is a two-stage system. This is a two-stage warhead, right? So this is not a simple RPG-7 that Russia has claimed. No, this is something bigger, something heavier. This is potentially a anti-tank guided missile of some sort, because it's so large that you want to reduce the recoil of this man-portable weapon. So you launch the missile with a not that powerful charge, so it launches, and then at a set distance from the user, the proper rocket kicks in and then propels the missile at full speed towards the target. And that is what we're seeing here. You can see the heat weapon being launched, and just meters ahead of the CV90, the rocket kicks in of the two-stage system, sending it straight into the turret of the CV90, and we can see here how it hits, and there's a massive explosion. So what exactly this weapon is, I don't know, but I think it's safe to say that it's not an RPG-7. You can clearly see the weapon being fired, and you can clearly see the two-stage system in action as the second rocket kicks in that propels the missile at full speed at the CV90. But it doesn't end there. It gets really interesting as you imagine, as you take a closer look at the CV90 as it has been brought to Moscow. As you take a look on this image here, this is the vehicle in Moscow, the one they destroyed in the previous footage. You can see the hit to the turret where the heat warhead struck. But what is going on to right here in the picture on the vehicle's left-hand side? What has happened over there? What, did the missiles punch straight through the turret? What's going on here? This is a penetrating hit on the left-hand side of the vehicle, and as you can see, this is not the result of an RPG or a heat round or anything of the sort. This is the hit from a tank's saber round. Saber rounds are anti-tank munitions. It's basically a large solid rod of very dense metal that you shoot at a tank. It's basically a big bullet that you shoot at tanks specifically designed to punch through the heaviest of armor. And this is what the Russians have used against the CV90 in this case, as you can see here. And even in the video with Shoigu inspecting the CV90, well, they make damn sure not to show this damage. They only show the hit from the heat warhead to the turret, but they are very careful not to show the impact of the saber round. But in the video, they show us how Shoigu is briefed on that impact, on that hit. And so clearly Shoigu took an interest in how a tank would impact a CV90. And it's really strange. It's so bizarre, the entire sequence of events here, because we see the CV90 getting hit by the heat warhead at really close distance. It's enveloped in smoke as a result of this. It then continues forward for, I don't know, 20-30 meters, and then takes a left turn and almost makes a U-turn. So it is hit on the right-hand side with the Russians hiding in the trees, makes a left-hand turn, and then faces the enemy direction with the right-hand side, the right-hand side that got hit by the heat warhead. Yet the impact from the tank, the hit from the tank, is on the left-hand side, that is now facing away from the enemy. So this is very peculiar, because as the CV90 is advancing, we don't see any signs of it being hit by a tank as it is advancing. Not before the heat warhead is launched, not during or in that sequence of being hit by the heat round, or not afterwards either. Yet Russia claims that the commander of the CV90 was killed in this attack. And this makes it all the more strange, because the heat round hit the turret on the right hand side, and that is where the gunner is located. But the commander, he's located on the left hand side of the vehicle, where the saber round struck. So when and how was the commander killed? Was it from the tank shooting at them? So when did the tank open fire, and from what angle, and what happened? It's all very strange. But what we can conclude, though, is since the commander then was apparently killed, he must have been killed by the tank round, which means that the heavy-duty heat warhead did not penetrate and did not kill the gunner, because they didn't say the gunner was killed. So the gunner was fine, which means the heat warhead did not penetrate the turret. And we've also seen video footage of the interior of the vehicle, and it looks like the gunner's position is relatively intact, to be honest, as is most of the vehicle. There is no sign, barely any sign at all, that it had been hit. by this heat warhead or by the tank. And it's all very, very peculiar here how the commander got killed, because he can't have been, there's no way he was killed by the heat warhead. If that penetrated, that would have killed the gunner, but the gunner wasn't killed. So it must have been the tank round that hit the CV90 in the flank on the left-hand side that killed the commander. So when did that happen? Because in the video we can see the CV90 moving away, taking a left turn, so that the right-hand side is facing the enemy and the left-hand side is facing away from the enemy. So did the tank roll up and fire at the CV90 just to be sure at a later stage? Were the crew still in the vehicle at that point? It's all very peculiar. I think what happened was that the Ukrainians abandoned the vehicle and got the hell out of Dodge. And just to be sure that the vehicle was destroyed, a Russian tank later on moved up and took a shot at it. And by the time they retrieved it, they could see that they had penetrated the armor, and that hit would have killed the commander had he been still in the vehicle. I'm guessing. This is me speculating. So then they went with the narrative that the commander must have been killed, or something along those lines. Because it's very strange otherwise. I'm not sure how these hits and the damages to the vehicles would otherwise have occurred, since it's not shown in the video. Yeah, it's all very strange indeed. So yeah, as you can see, it's very peculiar. The Russians have created a narrative that the CV90 is crap and that an ordinary RPG destroyed it. When in fact, when you look at the evidence, the CV90 took that hit pretty well by the looks of it, and it didn't penetrate, and no one was wounded. Maybe someone was wounded, but no one got killed. And the vehicle was fine. It was fine, right? And maybe they kept on fighting, and later on, as they maneuvered some more, the Russians needed a tank to destroy the vehicle. That might have been the case, yeah, since they're not showing us everything that's going on here. Maybe the CV90 took the hit and kept moving on, kept fighting, and eventually the Russians brought up a tank to bring it down, right? This sounds plausible, actually, yeah. But I mean, they're selling this bullshit narrative that initial hit was the hit that took out the vehicle, and that it wasn't a heavy-duty warhead. No, it was an old-school, simple RPG that did it. Obviously, this is not the case. Russia is just trying to bullshit you concerning this taken out CV90, and yeah, that's how they do things. They tell lies about everything, trying to convince and trick people in the West, and Ukraine and Russia for that matter, that they have the upper hand in this war, which they clearly do not. So I hope this short, simple video detailing how Russia has lied about how they took out the CV90 shows you how, well, full of shit they are. And they're lying about, if they're lying about something like this, I mean, they're going to be lying about everything going on the front line, right? So, yeah, no. CV90, it took that hit. and it probably needed a tank to deal with the CV90. That's how much of a crappy vehicle the CV90 is. You need to bring up a tank to deal with an IFV. I hope Russia truly fears the CV90, and I'm pretty sure they do. And yeah, I'm glad we gave those vehicles to Ukraine so they can bring the wrath of the Northmen to the hearts of Russia. Go march Ukraine, give them hell.